You're fired, Julia. Effective immediately. Pack your things. That was the first thing my sister Olivia said to me after she walked into the office as the new CEO of our family business. No warm hello. No smile. Just cold, emotionless words that echoed through the boardroom. Our family members sitting around the table all looked away, pretending not to hear. My hands froze over my keyboard, and I blinked at her, not sure I heard right. I looked at her, and the only thing I could do was laugh. Loud. Uncontrollably. The kind of laugh you let out when something is so outrageous, so unexpected, that it actually becomes funny. She stood there, arms crossed, clearly not expecting that reaction. And I couldn't stop laughing. Because Olivia had no idea what she had just done. Let me tell you how we got here. I'm Julia Carter, 34 years old. I've worked at our family's pharmaceutical company, Carter Labs, for nearly 12 years. I started from the bottom, literally, as a junior researcher. My father, Henry Carter, always said, if you want to run this company one day, you have to earn it. And I did. I worked nights. I missed holidays. I spent hours in labs trying to crack formulas. And then, 6 years ago, I did something no one in the company had managed in decades. I developed what would become our best-selling drug. A chronic pain management pill that worked without being addictive. It saved lives. And it made Carter Labs billions. The stock tripled in value. Our company expanded globally. My dad gave me full credit. I was promoted to executive VP and led the research division. I wasn't just the CEO's daughter, I was a key piece of the company's future. Olivia, on the other hand, was always the golden child. Younger by 2 years, prettier by most people's standards, and with a gift for charm. She never wanted to work in science. She went into marketing, then PR, then left the company for a while to find herself in Europe. When our father passed away suddenly last year, the company went into shock. The board had to choose a new CEO. Despite my contributions, Olivia had something I didn't. Connections. She knew people. She schmoozed the board, told them what they wanted to hear, and they made her CEO. I swallowed the bitter pill and kept my head down. I figured I'd keep doing what I did best. Research. Building products. Creating value. I thought maybe she'd need me. I was wrong. Olivia walked into the boardroom her first day, sat down in Dad's chair like she was born for it, and made her first executive decision, to fire me. The board didn't object. I couldn't believe it. No warning. No conversation. Just a pink slip. But here's the thing. Olivia didn't know one small detail. The patent for the best-selling drug, the one keeping the company afloat, it wasn't owned by Carter Labs. It was owned by me. See, when I was working on the formula in my tiny lab 6 years ago, I filed for the patent under my own name. It wasn't out of greed. Back then, the company wasn't investing in my research. I paid for the initial trials out of my own pocket. When it finally worked, I presented it to Dad. He loved it, offered to license the formula through the company, and I agreed. It was a simple deal. They'd pay me royalties. The company made money, and so did I. Everyone won. But Olivia, she had no idea. No one ever told her. And now she had just fired the person keeping the company's best product on the market. I packed up my desk slowly, took my time, let her enjoy her little power trip, because I knew it wouldn't last long. What happened next? Well, let's just say it sent shockwaves through the entire company. And it all started 2 days later, when they tried to renew the licensing agreement without me. That's when everything began to unravel. But before we get there, let me take you back a bit further. To when Olivia and I were still kids. Back then, we were inseparable. We shared everything, bedroom, toys, even secrets. She'd sneak cookies into our room, and I'd help her with her math homework. Our dad used to take us fishing on weekends. He always said, "You girls will run this company together one day. Side by side." We believed him. But something changed in Olivia during college. She started comparing everything, grades, clothes, boyfriends. If I got a B+, she had to get an A. If I got a compliment, she had to get 2. I thought it was just a phase, but it kept getting worse. When I joined the company, I stuck to the science. She joined the public relations team and quickly became the face of the brand. Dad loved us both, but I knew he leaned on me more. He trusted me to handle the hard stuff. And Olivia noticed. One time, during a holiday dinner, I overheard her telling our cousin Sarah that Dad would never really trust her with the company as long as I was around. I should have said something. I should have told her she didn't need to compete with me, but I didn't. I just kept working. The real trouble started after Dad passed. The board was split. Half supported me. The other half backed Olivia, mostly because she promised bold changes and a modern direction. She won the vote. I congratulated her. Genuinely. Even hugged her. She smiled, said we'd work well together. Then she stopped returning my calls. Meetings I was scheduled to attend were suddenly moved. My memos went unanswered. Slowly, I realized I was being frozen out. Still, I didn't think she'd actually fire me. I mean, who fires their own sister? Now I knew. As I walked out of the building with my box of things, I bumped into Karen, our longtime receptionist. She gave me a sad look. She didn't even wait a week, she whispered. I know, I said, smiling. But this story's far from over. And I meant it, because Olivia had just declared war on the wrong person. And soon, the entire company would feel the aftershocks. It all started the next morning, when my lawyer got a phone call from Carter Labs. And what they said, that changed everything. I was standing there in disbelief, still holding the pink slip she handed me like it was a prank that had gone too far. But her face was cold, unshaken. My sister, someone I'd once helped study for college exams, whose wedding dress I had paid for, had just fired me without blinking. I could hear my heart pounding louder than her high heels as she walked past me without another word. The boardroom door clicked shut behind her. I was alone now, but not broken, because there was one little detail she forgot. But before I tell you what it was, you need to know how we got here, how I went from being her closest ally to her first victim the moment power touched her hands. Rewind 2 years. My name is Rachel Kennedy, and at the time, I was the chief operating officer of Kennedy Naturals, a family-owned business my dad built from the ground up 30 years ago. We made natural skincare products, face creams, essential oils, and herbal lotions, and was slowly rising in the clean beauty industry. I wasn't just a worker. I helped build the logistics, expand our supply chain, and handle deals with retailers across 5 states. I was the door, the fixer, and to some extent, the emotional glue that held the company together. My younger sister, Emily, was the creative one. She had a background in fashion marketing and had always been the dreamer, brilliant, yes, but not very practical. Still, Dad loved her ambition and kept telling her she'd someday lead the company. I didn't mind that. I never needed a crown. I just wanted us to thrive. But when Dad got diagnosed with early-onset Parkinson's, things began to shift. He didn't want to step down, but the board insisted on a succession plan. I expected they'd choose me. I had the experience, the knowledge, and the relationships. Emily had ideas, but they were mostly flashy rebrands and influencer campaigns that cost more than they earned. Still, when Dad announced Emily would become CEO, I clapped for her. I even hugged her. It hurt, but I was raised to put family first, and I believed we could still work together. The first few months were awkward, but I gave her space to settle in. I even backed her up when she presented bold ideas to the board that I thought were risky. I didn't want to overshadow her or look jealous, but she didn't see it that way. Slowly, she began freezing me out. Meetings were rescheduled without me. Emails ignored. She even reassigned some of my staff to her new creative strategy team without telling me. The respectful conversations turned into clipped exchanges. She smiled less. She didn't laugh at my jokes anymore. One night, I found a memo on my desk. She had changed the reporting structure so all department heads now reported to her directly. That meant I had no team. Still, I didn't confront her. I thought maybe she felt insecure and needed to assert her role. I tried to talk it out, suggesting we grab coffee in Rurline. She said she was too busy. Then came the annual product launch, a big deal for us. I managed the logistics, set up the entire distribution pipeline, and landed a game-changing deal with a major health store chain. It was the biggest order in our company's history, and that's when it happened. The very next morning, After our numbers went public and investors were buzzing about the massive growth, I was summoned to her office. She didn't even ask me to sit down. She handed me the termination letter and said, "Your services are no longer needed." Just like that. I blinked at her, stunned. "You're firing me? After I just landed our biggest contract?" She didn't flinch. "You've done great work, Rachel. But the company is heading in a new direction. And you're stuck in the old one." It took everything not to scream. But instead, I smiled. Because while she was so focused on erasing me, she forgot one tiny, critical thing about that deal. Something that would make her wish she never touched me. But I didn't tell her. Not yet. I left the building with the letter in hand and a half-smile on my face. Outside, the sun was warm, and the world kept moving. I got in my car, took a deep breath, and drove straight to the person who'd know exactly what to do next. That night, I sat in my apartment replaying the entire day, wondering how family could become enemies so quickly. I remembered how Emily and I used to share bunk beds, whispering about the future and how we'd take on the world together. But somewhere along the way, power changed her. And now I had to protect myself. I opened my laptop, pulled out the contract she forgot about, and made one phone call. The next morning, I got a message from the VP of operations at the health store chain. Something had gone very wrong on their end. They were threatening to cancel the deal. And guess what? Only one person had the authority to fix it. And it wasn't Emily. The VP's message was urgent. "We need to speak with Rachel Kennedy immediately. If this isn't resolved within 48 hours, we'll have to cancel the contract." I could almost hear Emily's panic when she read that. But the best part, she couldn't call me. Why? Because she had already removed my access to the company's internal systems, emails, and servers. I was gone. Ghosted. Officially non-existent within Kennedy Naturals. Which meant she couldn't reach out for help without admitting she'd made a catastrophic mistake. And I was waiting. See, while she was busy plotting her little power grab, she forgot one important clause in the contract. All fulfillment operations and account management had to be handled exclusively by me. It was part of the trust the VP had placed in me from years of collaboration. And I had built it into the contract for one simple reason. I knew how Emily operated. She liked flashover function. And I knew she might try something foolish once Dad stepped down. The deal was ironclad. If I wasn't involved, it was void. So, while Emily and her new executive team scrambled behind their fancy glass walls, I spent my morning walking my dog, sipping my coffee slowly, and watching the chaos unfold from the outside. Then the call came. Not from Emily, but from her assistant, Amanda, who used to bring me donuts every Friday when we worked late. "Rachel, hi," she said in a shaky voice. Emily was wondering if you had time to consult on a situation." I paused, let it hang in the air. Then I said, "Oh, that's funny. I thought my services were no longer needed." Silence. Then Amanda said something that genuinely made me laugh. She was thinking maybe you could come in as a temporary advisor, just for this one thing. Wow. So she wanted me back, but not as an employee, as a consultant, which, by the way, would mean they'd have to pay me triple my old salary. I almost said yes right then just to make her squirm. But I wasn't done yet. "I'll think about it," I told Amanda. "Tell Emily to send me a formal offer, and maybe include a fruit basket." That night, I got the email. Not from Emily, but from the company's legal counsel. It was professional, polished, and dripping with desperation. They were begging me to return, for 2 weeks only, to smooth over the account relationship and ensure the delivery pipeline stayed intact. I responded the next morning with a simple question. "What's the budget for this consultation?" They gave me a number. I doubled it. They agreed. I showed up that afternoon in a sharp navy blue suit, walked past the same receptionist who had watched me get escorted out, and smiled like nothing had happened. Emily didn't come out to greet me. Of course she didn't. She was in her office with the door shut, probably too embarrassed, or too proud, to face me. So I went straight to work, met with the VP, calmed the storm, fixed the logistics, reopened the shipment lanes. In 2 days, everything was back on track. The client was thrilled, and the biggest deal in Kennedy Naturals history was saved. By me. Again. And the whole time, Emily never said a word to me. But I wasn't done yet. I had been keeping something from her. Something even bigger than the contract clause. Something that could change everything. Because 2 months before Dad handed her the CEO title, he made me a silent partner in the company. He never told her. And neither did I. Which meant I still owned 25% of Kennedy Naturals. Emily thought she'd cut me out. But I was still in the game. Quietly. Legally. And with full access to quarterly financials, board meetings, and, oh yeah, voting rights. She may have fired me, but she couldn't erase me still. I kept it quiet. I wanted to see how far she'd go, how much power would poison her, before I made my move. That move was coming. Soon. But first, I needed to know if Emily was truly spiraling or just having a power trip. So I decided to test her. I invited her out for coffee. Just like old times. Why? She asked, the first time she spoke to me in weeks. I figured we could talk. Sister to sister, I said. Clear the A. Start fresh. She agreed, hesitantly. We met at a local cafe we used to love when we were younger. It had our favorite cinnamon rolls and overpriced matcha lattes. I was hoping some nostalgia might bring out the real Emily. At first, it did. We laughed a little. Shared memories. She even told me she was stressed and overwhelmed, trying to prove herself to the board and live up to Dad's shadow. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said quietly. But I felt like I needed to take control. To show them I could lead. I nodded. I understand. But just when I thought maybe, just maybe, we could rebuild our bond, she leaned in and said, so now that you've helped clean up that mess, you can step away again, right? No hard feelings. I froze. There it was. She didn't want peace. She just wanted me gone. For good. And that's when I knew. This wasn't about the business. It was about me. She couldn't stand having me close. Because deep down, she knew I was still the stronger one. The smarter one. The one who could steal the spotlight without trying. So she wanted to erase me completely. And that's when I decided. It was time to stop playing nice. Because if she thought firing me was the end of the story, she had no idea what was coming next. The next morning, I woke up early. But not because I had work. No. Today was the day I reminded Emily, and the entire board, who really held the power at Kennedy Naturals. I slid into my home office, opened the file drawer, and pulled out the official shareholder agreement Dad had signed 2 months before stepping down. My name was right there. Rachel Kennedy, 25% ownership, Class A voting shares. Untouchable. While Emily had been busy chasing board approval and trying to rebrand the company with flashy ads and overpriced consultants, I had been attending board meetings quietly, watching the numbers, watching her decisions slowly tank revenue. Sales had dropped 18% since she took over. Customer service complaints had tripled. Our fulfillment center was working overtime to fix errors from new software she installed without its review. She even tried to cancel the company's longtime community support program, something our brand was built on, just to funnel money into influencer campaigns. And the board was noticing. Oh, they hadn't said anything yet. They were giving her time. But not for long. So, I scheduled a meeting. As a shareholder, I had every right. The agenda. Performance review of the CEO. When Emily saw the calendar invite pop up, I could imagine her face. Maybe she thought it was a joke. Maybe she thought I was bluffing. She accepted the meeting, of course, but not without trying to spin it. She sent out a mass email to the board an hour later titled, Open Discussion on Strategic Vision for Q3. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I was already ready. That afternoon, I walked into the Kennedy Naturals conference room, a place that used to feel like home but now had glass walls and minimalist art, thanks to Emily's redecorating. The board members were already there. Mr. Carlson, who had served since the 90s, Sophia Tran, the marketing exec who liked me but loved drama, and Jamal Green, a numbers guy who only cared about growth. They nodded as I walked in. Cordial. Curious. Emily walked in 5 minutes later, wearing a bold red blazer and too much perfume. She smiled too wide, made too much noise pulling out her chair. Let's get started, she said like she owned the room. And maybe she still thought she did. But she didn't know what I had brought. The slides went up. Quarterly losses. Client complaints. Project delays. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't point fingers. I just showed the numbers. Facts. Emily started to fidget. She interrupted. Tried to spin the data. But the board wasn't buying it. Carlson adjusted his glasses and asked, "Why wasn't this presented last meeting?" Emily stammered. We were compiling numbers." Sophia raised a brow. "But Rachel isn't even employed here, and she has all the data." Emily's face flushed. I leaned forward. "Because I care about the company. And I always have. Even when I wasn't paid to." Silence. Then I dropped the final slide. A detailed report from our largest client, the one I had personally managed, outlining how close we came to losing the contract due to mismanagement. At the bottom, their VP had written a sentence that was gold. "Without Rachel Kennedy, we would have terminated our partnership." Emily's jaw clenched. Carlson cleared his throat. "I think we need to reconsider some leadership decisions." That's when Emily exploded. "No. This is a setup. She's manipulating you. She's trying to take back the company." "Emily," I said calmly, "I already own 25% of it." "You could have heard a pin drop." She blinked. "What?" "I'm a silent partner. Dad gave me the shares 2 months before you took over. I just haven't exercised my board privileges. Until now." Her face went pale. "But no one told me. Dad didn't," he said. I opened my folder and slid the signed documents across the table. Carlson picked them up and adjusted his glasses. "Well," he said, "this certainly changes things." But before Emily could process it all, something even more shocking happened. Jamal, the quietest one at the table, spoke. "I motion we initiate a board vote on temporary suspension of CEO duties pending further performance review." Emily's eyes widened. "You can't be serious." Sophia looked at me, then at her. I seconded it. And just like that, the room began shifting. Emily's seat, the one she'd stolen from me, was starting to wobble. But I didn't want her out. Not yet. She needed to feel what it was like to be on shaky ground. So I raised my hand. "I vote against suspension." Everyone turned. "She needs a chance to fix this. Let's give her 1 quarter. If there's no improvement, then we revisit." Emily blinked, confused, maybe even a little hopeful. But deep down, I wasn't helping her. I was giving her just enough rope to hang herself. Because I had already uncovered something else. Something not even the board knew yet. A new deal Emily had secretly signed with an offshore supplier to cut costs, one with 0 environmental certifications. And if that came out, it would destroy everything Dad built. I had proof. Emails. Contracts. Shipment logs. But I wasn't dropping that bomb. Yet. Because I needed her to think she still had control. So she'd get sloppy. So she'd slip. And when she did, I'd be ready to take everything back. Do subscribe and show support. Emily didn't speak to me after the meeting. Not a word. She stormed out of the conference room, red blazer flapping behind her like a warning flag, her heels echoing through the halls. But I didn't chase after her. I didn't need to. I had planted the seed of doubt and fear, and it was already growing inside her. Still, I wasn't celebrating. Not yet. That vote had rattled the board. And if Emily got desperate, she might make another reckless move. One that could hurt not just the company, but the people who depended on it. So I stayed sharp. I reviewed financials. Checked in with old department heads. Quietly reconnected with clients I had once brought in, and found many of them unhappy. But even as I was doing all this, there was a small part of me that hoped Emily would turn it around. I know. It sounds crazy. She fired me. Lied about me. Tried to erase my name from the company my family built. But she was still my sister. And for most of our childhood, Emily was my best friend. We used to sneak into Dad's study and pretend we were running the company, handing each other fake memos written on sticky notes and arguing over who would get the bigger desk when we grew up. I wanted to believe there was something left of that girl. That maybe, if given the chance, she'd find her way back to what really mattered. That maybe she wasn't lost, just scared. But 2 weeks later, I found out how wrong I was. It started with a package. A small manila envelope dropped off at my doorstep. No return address. Inside, a copy of a signed purchase order, one Emily had tried to erase from the system. And a typed note. You were right. She's hiding more than you think. A friend. My stomach sank. I had been right about the offshore deal. But this was worse. The order was for synthetic ingredients banned by U.S. health agencies. Stuff that could trigger skin allergies, asthma, and in rare cases, reproductive harm. We had built our brand on clean, natural, certified ingredients. Emily had signed off on 4,000 units. She had already paid the supplier. The shipment was on its way. If this went public, Kennedy Naturals would be dead, done, gone. And Emily knew it. I sat on the couch, staring at the paperwork for hours. My fingers clenched the edges so tightly, I nearly tore them. Why? Why would she do this? Was it greed? Pride? Or had she just completely lost sight of who she was? The next day, I drove straight to the factory. It was 6 a.m. The sun barely rising. Most of the floor staff hadn't arrived yet, but I found Ben, our longtime logistics manager, unloading boxes from the back of a truck. Ben, I said, walking up, has a shipment arrived recently from Delmark Exports? He looked at me with raised brows. How'd you know? He pointed at a pallet sitting near the wall, half unwrapped. I moved closer and peeled back the plastic. There it was, the logo of the supplier I had warned the board about. The same one from the order slip. I didn't touch the boxes. Didn't need to. Ben noticed my silence. Something wrong. I met his eyes. Can you do me a favor? Keep this shipment separate. Don't let anyone unpack or use it until I give the go-ahead. He nodded slowly. You got it. My heart pounded. This was bigger than board politics now. This was about integrity and the health of our customers. I needed to act, but carefully. I didn't want to alight Emily too soon. So I called in a favor. My old friend, Lucas, worked in product safety compliance. I sent him the product list and supplier name. 2 hours later, he called back. His voice was serious. Rachel, this company has been banned from supplying to several major retailers. You have to report this. Now. I stared at my phone. My finger hovered over the contact for Sophia Tran, the board member most likely to back me. But I didn't press it. Not yet. Because that afternoon, I got another surprise. This time in person. I was in my home office, compiling a report for the board, when the doorbell rang. I opened it, and there she was, Emily. No security. No assistant. Just her. She looked different. Less polished. Her hair was down, like she didn't bother styling it. Her makeup was smudged, and there were dark circles under her eyes. She didn't wait for me to speak. I know what you found, she said. I stayed silent. I didn't have a choice, she said quickly. The budget was tanking. The board wanted results. I had to show progress. I thought no one would find out. Her voice cracked. For a moment, I saw a flicker of the old Emily, the one who used to stay up late helping me with science fair posters and cried during Pixar movies. But I wasn't ready to forgive her. Not yet. Come inside, I said. She stepped in, sat down, and told me everything. How the board had threatened to pull her bonus if sales didn't improve. How one of the consultants convinced her that cutting ingredient costs would boost margins with minimal exposure. How she signed the deal without vetting the supplier properly. How she deleted the order trail. How she was planning to quietly swap the formula back before anyone noticed. But now it was too late. Too many units had already shipped. If the public finds out, she whispered, we're done. I looked her in the eye. No, Emily, you're done. She didn't argue, didn't cry, just stared at her hands. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said. I wanted to prove I could do it. That I was more than just the second daughter, more than the one who always followed your lead. And there it was. The truth, the jealousy, the pain, the years of feeling like she lived in my shadow, even though I never wanted her to. I felt something tighten in my chest, because I knew what I had to do next. And it wouldn't just shake our family. It would shake the entire company. Do subscribe before going next. I gave Emily one last chance. I told her, confess to the board, admit everything, step down voluntarily, and I'd help clean up the mess for the sake of our employees and our customers. She looked at me for a long time. Then she shook her head. I can't, she whispered. I'll lose everything. And just like that, she chose pride over people. So I made the call. I presented the evidence to the board, emails, contracts, the illegal shipment. I even brought in Lucas, who confirmed the supplier's violations. The board was stunned. They voted, unanimously. Emily was removed as CEO that same day. She stormed out of the office, again, this time with no applause, no cameras, no legacy. And me? They asked me to return. But I said no. I didn't want the title anymore. Instead, I helped restructure the company from behind the scenes, mentoring a new, honest leadership team and making sure the tainted products never reached customers. Kennedy Naturals survived. Stronger, cleaner, kinder. And Emily, I heard she moved to a small town upstate, trying to find herself, according to our aunt. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. But me? I'm doing just fine. Because the day she fired me thinking she'd won was the day I realized I was finally free. Don't forget to subscribe.